7 years ago, at the Imperial Academy, 16-year-old Jasmine wandered along the quiet walkway of the academy, unfazed by the darkness. The grounds were still, save for the occasional rustling of leaves in the breeze. What should I do? I can't sleep. I'm too nervous, she thought, pressing a hand to her fluttering chest. Tomorrow, I'll finally get to see Lord Richard up close. Her face flushed with anticipation. It had been a year since her crush had begun. Jasmine often visited the academy under the pretense of checking in on James, a family acquaintance, but with James graduating tomorrow, that excuse would vanish. Should I ask him to repeat a year? She joked silently, chuckling to herself. As she strolled, a faint voice caught her attention. Who's out here at this hour? She whispered, ducking behind a stone pillar near the academy's outer wall. Could it be? Thieves? She peeked around the pillar and spotted two figures in the shadows. Hey, the coast is clear. Hurry up, Richard, one of them whispered. Be quiet, the other replied, effortlessly scaling the wall. Jasmine's breath caught. Lord Richard? She watched in disbelief as he climbed down. Are you trying to alert the whole town that I'm sneaking out? Richard said flatly. Whoops, my bad, his friend chuckled. Richard ignored the apology. Why go so far just to drink? If we drink here, we'll get caught. You can't take that risk. You're the future Duke of Ion, the friend said, offering him a cigar. Richard grunted, unimpressed. Cut the nonsense, he muttered, taking the cigar as his friend lit it. Don't be so grumpy, the friend teased. From her hiding spot, Jasmine stared, stunned. Smoke curled into the moonlight. Tobacco? She thought in shock. Students aren't even allowed to smoke, and they were talking about drinking too. So, the friend continued, a smirk in his voice, how's it going with that widow, Rich? Huh? What about Joanna? Another asked, slinging an arm around Richard. There's nothing going on with either of them, Richard replied coolly, knocking the hand off his shoulder. Really? The friend grinned. They're both mad for you. He paused as Richard's eyes sharpened. Why do you look so serious? It's freaking me out. I said there's nothing, Richard snapped, dropping the cigar and crushing it underfoot. I don't do anything I can't take responsibility for. Only scumbags do that. Geez, the friend muttered. Then what about sneaking out with us? Isn't that pretty scummy? Richard raised an eyebrow, then smiled faintly. Scummy? He echoed. His mood seemed to lift as they kept talking. From her hiding spot, Jasmine watched him, heart pounding. That was the last thing she remembered that night. Later, Jasmine groaned softly as she woke up, her head throbbing. She was in Richard's arms, the world blurry. Lady Jasmine, are you awake? He asked gently. The carriage is on its way. You're so full of yourself, she muttered, cutting him off. Pardon? He blinked. I said you're so full of yourself. Just leave me alone. You've done enough already. Her face burned as she turned away. I'm afraid I can't do that, came his calm reply. You're the daughter of my acquaintance and the only child of Grand Duke Riovani. I can't ignore your condition. And based on what you just said, I know how you feel about me. I'll do my best to avoid making you uncomfortable. She grabbed a fistful of his shirt. You're a lunatic, she snapped. Now put me down. Were you always like this? He asked mildly. I said, put me down. Unbothered, he continued. They say you're the flower of high society, but you're more like a poison mushroom. He gently set her down. She staggered slightly. She shot him a glare. I could say the same. You pretend to care about others, but your obsession with manners is fake. You just want to look perfect. So what? He said coolly, hands in his pockets. Is it wrong to be polite? Now you're just showing your true colors, she said, flashing a cheerful grin despite herself. I'm not foolish enough to be polite to someone who's rude to me. He countered. Jasmine stared at him, caught off guard. Her tone softened, turning nostalgic. That attitude of yours, it's nothing new. You were quite the rebel back at the academy. Richard's eyes narrowed. What? You were a delinquent for about a year, weren't you? She said with a faint smirk. I remember. Because that smile you just gave me, it's the same one you had back then. Her voice dropped to a murmur, almost to herself. As long as no one finds out, no one gets hurt. I just need to avoid getting caught. Richard looked at her, surprised. Late one evening, Jasmine returned home quietly, her steps soft on the stone floor. The house was dim, lit only by a few wall sconces. Waiting in the hallway was her older brother, James. Jasmine, he called, voice low but firm. She blinked, caught off guard. James? His eyes trailed over her outfit, clearly unimpressed. Where were you, dressed like that, at this hour? I just went for a walk, she replied quickly, brushing past him. But then she turned back, a thought suddenly surfacing. Anyway, what's Lord Richard like at the academy? James looked surprised by the question. Richard? He's as perfect as they come, he said with a shrug. Top grades, great in combat. He's even giving the graduation speech this year. Jasmine gave a small smirk. You know, I gave last year's speech. James flicked her forehead gently. Who asked? Go to bed unless you want to sleep through the whole ceremony. Ow, she said, swatting his hand. He chuckled and walked off. The next day, Jasmine stood among the crowd at the Academy's graduation ceremony. She watched as Richard stepped onto the stage, composed and confident in his crisp uniform. Her eyes stayed on him, her thoughts unusually quiet. Richard spoke clearly, to our classmates who will serve the future of the Empire. Something inside her shifted. I get it now, she thought. As the speech ended and the crowd applauded, Jasmine clapped along, though more to herself than anyone else. No one is perfect, even the ones who look it. Her gaze fixed on Richard, a memory flashing through her mind, a secret she hadn't told anyone. I used to think he was flawless because I liked him, but I see more clearly now. She smiled faintly, raising her hand and pointing at him playfully. Stop pretending. She whispered under her breath. You're not perfect, Richard Ion. Richard looked slightly puzzled. Did I get under his skin? Did I make him mad? She wondered. But to her surprise, Richard laughed. It started as a light chuckle and then deepened into genuine amusement. Jasmine blinked. He's laughing? But the laughter faded as quickly as it began. Richard's expression shifted back to calm and composed. Moments later, a carriage pulled up. Your Grace, the carriage for Lady Jasmine is ready, the coachman announced. You should head home. It's late, Richard said, his voice steady as he reached for her hand. Startled, Jasmine flinched slightly. How can you be this calm? Doesn't he care that I know his secret? I can go by myself, she said, pulling back, but Richard didn't let go. You've been drinking. I'll see you to the carriage. As they reached the carriage, he turned to her once more. Lady Jasmine. Yes? He smiled faintly. I knew it. You're curious. She crossed her arms. I'm not telling you anything. In the future, drink in moderation, he said quietly. Wandering around like this could lead to something dangerous, and it wouldn't reflect well on your reputation. Then, in a softer tone, good night, he added, adjusting a strand of her hair before stepping away. The carriage door shut with a soft click. Jasmine sat inside, tense. Richard Ion, arrogant jerk. She muttered under her breath. As the carriage moved, her thoughts drifted to a memory, a night before last year's graduation. She had seen Richard sitting atop the academy fence, talking with friends. I'm going to war, he had said, lighting a cigar. What? But your father. His friends began to protest. There's a conflict with Descartes, Richard explained. It'll be publicly announced tomorrow. He looked up at the stars, a faint smile on his face. Enough rebellion for now, he'd said, putting out the cigar with his shoe. That smile had stayed with her, though she hadn't understood it then. Now she did. Back in her room, Jasmine had quietly cried into her pillow. Since then, Richard had done everything expected of him. He fought, led, and returned decorated with honors. From afar, Jasmine had watched him grow stronger. Watching you become someone admirable made me happy, she admitted. If I'd stayed by your side, maybe I could have grown too. But the warmth in that thought didn't last. Lying in bed, her expression hardened. That's over now, she whispered. Love? It's just annoying. The next morning, Nysa was out deer hunting. She spotted one and took her shot, but missed. Darn it, she muttered, then smiled. Too bad, but I'm still in a good mood. Must be the weather, she added cheerfully, turning to where Duke Richard sat quietly under a tree. She waited for a reaction, but he didn't even glance her way. Seriously? She frowned. Are you going to stay like that all day? You're going to make me depressed too. She handed her gun to a butler and approached him. What's wrong? Hungover? You left before me last night. Don't tell me you drank without me? No, Richard answered curtly. Nysa wasn't buying it. Then what is it? Something happened? He sighed deeply. Her eyes widened. Wait, something did happen, didn't it? She spotted the cigarette in his hand. You're smoking? But you quit after the war. She narrowed her eyes. You did something bad, didn't you? Nisa, Richard said quietly. She blinked. Huh? Want me to be honest? He asked. Of course, she replied, lightly smacking his hand. Though I'm not sure you know how to be. You're always so serious. He paused. I shouldn't have said anything. You know I'm right, she said, sitting down. Haven't people told you that your whole life? He hesitated before replying. I got into an argument last night. With who? Lady Jasmine Riovanni. Nisa's mouth dropped open. What? Why? It just happened, Richard said, clearly still unsettled. Nisa leaned back, thinking, Wait, haven't you mentioned her a lot lately? I've only brought her up twice. Exactly. That already makes her the second most mentioned person after Lily, she teased. This must have been serious. Then, softly, even if you don't tell me, I can see it. You're bothered. Richard nodded faintly. She said something that really hit me. Something that made me wonder, how much pain must she have been through to start hating someone she used to like? Nisa's tone turned gentle. What did she say that got to you that much? He let out a dry laugh. She's no delicate flower, more like a poisonous mushroom. That's harsh, Nisa muttered. It's not, Richard said flatly. She leaned against the tree. Maybe you hurt her too. If you're not going to return her feelings, don't string her along. You're used to being disliked, right? I am, he said, then paused. But this is the first time someone's made me question whether I'm always right. Meanwhile, across town, Jasmine was fuming, punching her pillow. He's worried about my reputation? Called me a poisonous mushroom? Ugh, why did I ever like him? In her room, Nikki calmly sipped tea and chuckled. I'm so done. He's not perfect. Not even close. Jasmine growled, burying herself under the sheets. Nikki gently set down her cup. Enough of this, Jasmine. You've cried. You've cursed. Time's up. She walked over. 3 days is all you get. You're a modern woman. Let's stop dwelling on the past. Jasmine peeked out from the covers. Nikki? Get up, Nikki said, pulling her out of bed. Let's go out. There are plenty of better men out there. Forget Richard. Start fresh. Jasmine stood, eyes burning with resolve. You're right. I'll erase him from my heart. Completely. She nodded firmly. Let's go, Nikki. It's time to leave this behind. That afternoon at the ball, Jasmine and Nikki mingled with their friends. Yes, good thinking, Richian said playfully. It's silly to focus on just one man these days. I agree, Nikki chimed in. There are so many great men. Get to know them one at a time. Jasmine blinked, surprised. That's bold, coming from you. Didn't you say your heart belonged to Sir Karas? Aisha teased. Nikki grinned. My heart's big enough. I saved a spot for him. Don't worry about me, Aisha. Speaking of which, shall we go find some worthy men? Great idea. Aisha giggled. We'll be back. Nikki winked at Jasmine as she walked off with Aisha. Jasmine smiled as she watched them go, warmth blooming in her chest. One of us studied abroad, another inherited a title, but nothing's really changed. That's our strength. Reading her thoughts, Richian smiled. So, what now, my cute Jazz? I don't know, Jasmine admitted. You can do anything, Richian said gently. You've spent so long trying to be the perfect lady. Maybe it's time to take charge of high society. High society? Jasmine repeated, blushing. Richian smirked. You outrank nearly everyone except the imperial family, and they don't even care about social events. They do prefer hunting over balls. Jasmine muttered as Richian signaled a waiter. Richian leaned closer with a teasing smile. Or you could join Nikki and meet someone new. Forget love for now. Just cheer up a little. She flicked Jasmine's nose gently. Jasmine flinched. Richian? Just then, Aisha hurried over. Jasmine, come here for a second. What is it? See that man near Nikki with the wine glass? He's been sneaking glances at you, Aisha said excitedly. Jasmine looked over. You think so? As if on cue, the man glanced up, locked eyes with her, then quickly turned away, rubbing the back of his neck, cheeks flushed. See? Aisha laughed. Richie uncovered her mouth with her fan. That's Charles, the second son of Marquess Alexander. Good reputation, nice family, easy on the eyes, he's not bad. Jasmine listened quietly. Of course he's totally out of your league, my lovely Jazz, Richiani added with a calm smile. Aisha giggled. He may not be perfect, but he's perfect for practice. Do you really think so? Jasmine asked, hiding her nerves behind a sip of wine. Maybe Richian's right. Meeting someone new might help me let go. She glanced at Charles again. He was watching her, still looking flustered. She smiled. The next day, Jasmine waited by a fountain, looking radiant. Charles approached with a bouquet. Lady Jasmine, you arrived early. Will you accept these? I picked them myself. Oh my, they're beautiful. Thank you, Lord Charles. And just like that, something new began. It started impulsively, but Jasmine found Charles pleasant company. After all that chasing, it's nice to be pursued for once, she thought. She didn't feel for him what she once felt for someone else, but his honesty and gentleness were refreshing. It was easy. Lady Jasmine? Charles said, a bit shy. Would you like to take a lakeside walk in my territory next time? You mean your estate on the outskirts of the capital? Isn't that far? Not at all. Just half a day's journey. I'll make sure everything's comfortable. Jasmine studied him. Unlike a certain someone, he's open. Simple. Would it really only take half a day? She asked. Yes, of course, he beamed. After a pause, she smiled. All right, I accept your invitation. Wonderful, he stood up quickly. I'll be a proper escort. Though Jasmine appreciated how easy Charles was compared to the difficult Duke she'd once adored, a small part of her couldn't help but feel bored. As the sun began to set over the imperial palace, Nysa spotted Duke Richard Ion returning from another long day. Hey, Richard, she called out cheerfully. Nysa, he replied, his tone calm but tired. Heading home? She asked as she walked up to him. He gave a small nod. Yes. She eyed him with sympathy. Poor you. The military minister must have worn you out. It's the pressure to get married that's more tiring than the work, he said with a sigh. Nysa chuckled. I can imagine. But still, all that nagging? If I were you, I'd have fainted. You've been so busy lately. I heard you've even been losing sleep. Your aide is worried. Richard gave a brief nod. I'm the Duke now. It's part of the job. Just then, a butterfly drifted past. Richard's gaze followed it silently. You're being responsible, sure, but you should try being more flexible. Hello? Are you even listening to me? Nysa asked, realizing he was distracted. Richard's attention shifted to the terrace where the butterfly landed. Sometimes, he murmured, a good memory can be a curse. Following his gaze, Nysa spotted nobles mingling below. Oh, there's always some party going on. It's the height of the social season. Every corner of the palace is buzzing, she said. Want to head over and join in? Richard shook his head. I'm not interested. Why not? It's the perfect time for a break. I don't have time. Just then, a new voice caught their attention. So, Charles, how are things with Lady Jasmine? She really is the flower of high society, another chimed in. Richard halted mid-step, his expression hardening. What's wrong? Nysa asked. He turned to see Charles standing with two nobles. Stop teasing, Charles said, rubbing his neck shyly. Nysa followed Richard's gaze. That's the second son of Marquess Alexander. Looks like he's seeing Lady Jasmine. Richard's breath caught. That man and Jasmine? They look nice together, Nysa added with a smile. Richard's jaw tightened. They look terrible together. Rumor is she's been going to every party lately, Nysa said lightly. Seems she really has moved on from you. She has nothing to do with me. Richard replied curtly. Is that so? She said, glancing sideways at him. Just then, one of Charles's friends scoffed. I heard Lady Jasmine's a bit full of herself. Charles quickly defended her. She's always considerate of others despite her status. I feel lucky. Maybe you're just blinded by inexperience, the other teased. What? No, Charles snapped. From above, Nysa laughed. Ah, the Grand Duke's daughter, once so devoted to one man, now everyone's fascinated by her. The wolves are out. They're swarming like she's prey, Richard said coldly. Lighten up, Richard. Why the scowl? What? You're acting fishy, she said, narrowing her eyes. Don't be ridiculous, he muttered. Charles continued nervously. She's visiting my estate soon. I hope she likes it. They're already visiting each other's estates? Nysa said, folding her arms. It's only been a month, Richard murmured. Nysa watched him carefully. She knew they had both suffered through unrequited feelings, and that Richard had once empathized with Jasmine's pain. But now, she was already seeing someone new? She moved on this quickly? He thought. Were her feelings for me that shallow? His hands clenched. Just a month ago, she cried because of me. I'm leaving, Richard said abruptly, turning away. Aren't you curious to hear more? Nysa called after him. He didn't answer. You're definitely acting suspicious, Richard Ion, she thought. The day of Jasmine's visit to Charles's estate arrived. Inside the carriage, Charles spoke enthusiastically. Our territory is known for its wine. There's a natural spring nearby. Priceless, really. Oh, really? Jasmine replied with a polite smile. Yes. And the hunting grounds are, he went on. He really doesn't take a breath, Jasmine thought, suppressing a sigh. He's kind, but there's nothing more to him. I'm so bored. I want to break up soon. I'd rather be home playing cards with James and Kara's. Charles beamed. Even Crown Princess Jillian vacations near our hunting grounds. She loves hunting with Duke Ion. Jasmine's eyes flickered. Duke Ion? We haven't run into each other since that night. She recalled that emotional confrontation. Didn't I say I'd avoid him? Maybe he's avoiding me too. Good, this is better. I hope I don't see him for a year. But the ache in her chest lingered. Lady Jasmine? Charles asked gently, noticing her clenched fist. Lost in her thoughts, Jasmine muttered, not quite realizing she'd spoken aloud. Do you think pretty decent women like me are common? You'll regret this, Richard Ion. I'll turn into a bitter, wrinkled old woman who smells like sword oil and paperwork. Charles blinked. Lady Jasmine? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes. See you in the next one.